What is the Order in Sakamoto Days? This mysterious group has been mentioned multiple times in the anime, with it being noted that Sakamoto used to be a member, but who they are, what they all do, and how they play into the overall story remains a mystery, so today I will be diving in and explaining each member of the Order. Also, there will be manga spoilers. The Order, as a baseline explanation, is the top assassin group in Sakamoto Days. They report directly to the higher-ups of the JAA, which is Japan's leading company that manages all the assassins in the country. The Order's job, as given by their name, is to maintain order in the assassin world. When something bad enough happens that it gets the attention of the JAA, or when something is dangerous enough to pose a threat to the current state of the assassin world, the Order is dispatched and instructed to remove that threat and fix what's wrong. The Order itself is composed of the top assassins in Japan, with membership being limited to just 10. We've already met a few members, so I'll be going into them now. Nagumo is the first official member of the Order we meet. He's a relaxed, goofy guy that used to go to school with Sakamoto. His whole fighting style revolves around deception, with his weapon really being a Swiss Army knife of a bunch of other weapons. He possesses the unique skill of disguises, being able to change both himself and others into the appearance of an entirely different person, even going so far as to copy their voice. Not much is known about Nagumo's past, other than the fact that he used to be in the spy department when he was at school, since his family was in the spy business, and that he joined the Order at the same time as Sakamoto. Shishiba is another member of the Order that's pretty laid back and relaxed, but with a more serious attitude. His fighting style is really straightforward compared to Nagumo, with his weapon just being a hammer. He doesn't use any fancy tricks and doesn't have any crazy skills, he's just really fast, strong, and durable with decent battle intelligence. What makes Shishiba really interesting though is his backstory. He was brought into the Order by Yotsumura and was eventually forced to kill him after Yotsumura was framed for the murder of the chairman. Osaragi is one of the newest members of the Order and she follows Shishiba around as his apprentice. She's incredibly aloof and detached, very rarely showing any intense emotions. In stark contrast to her demeanor, her weapon is very intense, being a giant buzzsaw. Not much is known about her past other than the fact that her family are actually farmers out in the country, and Osaragi herself never actually went to school to become an assassin. Hyo is one of the older members of the Order, having been brought in even before Sakamoto and Nagumo. He's very sympathetic and emotional, making him both the nicest and most irritable guy in the Order. His fighting style is even more simple than Shishiba's, with his defining trait being his overwhelming strength. Hyo uses his brass knuckles in combination with his power to just punch his enemies around, rarely using other weapons or any special strategies to win his fights. Kanaguri is both a member of the Order and a famous director in the assassin world. In fact, the movie Sakamoto and the gang watched to get info on the Don Denkai was actually directed by Kanaguri. Kanaguri's whole personality is defined by his love for movies. He acts the way he does because he's constantly looking to get good footage for whatever movie he's trying to make. His weapons are also all movie themed, with his director's board acting as a knife and his big studio light acting as a concentrated laser. While it's not known when Kanaguri joined the Order, we know he did join because he got into an argument about movies with a previous Order member, killed him, and then subsequently had to take the spot. Kanaguri is also the first Order member we see get kicked out in real time because he was also working with Uzuki's gang. Kamihate is the Order's premier sniper and is widely regarded as the greatest shooter in JAA history. Next to zero information is known about Kamihate, considering the fact that they're incredibly reclusive. Heisuke is the only confirmed character to have seen Kamihate's face, and when that happened, Kamihate instantly left the fight. Personality-wise, Kamihate is eccentric, prideful, and a little immature. But despite these childish traits, Kamihate does their job really well. They have a confirmed range of 8 kilometers, and with their signature sniper rifle, there's essentially no one that can escape their reach. Kamihate is proficient in both using their bullets to directly hit targets and in manipulating the environment in such a way that their bullets simply curve into people or create roadblocks for anyone trying to run away. Takamura is the Order's strongest member and is seen as the boogeyman of the JAA. The combination of his immense power and air of mystery have made Takamura into a myth of the assassin world, with people like Uzuki initially not even believing that he's a real person. But Takamura is very much real. Not much is known about him, but given his age, it's safe to assume that he might be the oldest member of the Order aside from its founders. Takamura himself mostly just mumbles incoherent nonsense, but when things get serious, Takamura does in fact speak real words, showing off his anger and disdain for the people he fights. This is largely because Takamura acts purely on instinct. His eyesight is too bad for him to see much, so he fights by sensing the bloodlust of his opponents. His weapon of choice is his signature katana, of which he has shown incredible proficiency with. His katana has been shown to be able to essentially cut anything in the verse, and any character caught in its path is guaranteed to take significant damage. Kandaka is one of the Order's founding members and is likely the fastest assassin alive. While it's initially self-proclaimed, even in the modern day of the manga, no one has actually shown speed on his level, so he's probably right. Because of his speed, Kandaka rarely fights with a real weapon, mostly just using his overwhelming physicals to just blitz and throw people around. He only has one piece of equipment, being his light speed shoes, but it's unclear if these actually help him move fast. Personality-wise, Kandaka is actually a really nice guy. He's shown compassion and sympathy for others and takes on a mentoring role really well. Unfortunately for him, he was stuck in a coma for like 8 years after going on an escort mission with student Sakamoto Nagumo in Rion. However, he has recently woken back up and agreed to help Sakamoto's gang fight the JAA. Yotsumura is the other founding member of the Order and was the right-hand man of the previous JAA chairman. Unfortunately, the chairman was assassinated and Yotsumura was framed for his murder, forcing him to go into hiding from the assassin world. Personality-wise, Yotsumura is a lot more cold and callous compared to Kandaka. While he is a pretty good teacher since he was Shishiba's mentor, his personality is a lot more dry and straightforward. Despite this, he has shown compassion considering his care for his son Amane and the flashbacks we see him have of his wife, and Yotsumura's signature weapon is his bladed 3-section staff, which he wields with extreme skill, allowing him to temporarily go toe-to-toe with both Nagumo and Shishiba. Oki is the current leader of the Order. We were pretty recently introduced to him, so not much is known, but we do know this. All of the Order members hate him and wouldn't mind if he just died. He seems to be extremely rule-oriented, going so far as to count the precise minutes and seconds Shishiba was late to a meeting. He also seems really confident in his strength, saying that he could kill Shishiba in just a few minutes. Other than that though, the only other piece of info we got was that Oki was overseas on a different mission, only being brought back after the assassin exhibition of the century because the Order lost 2 members. Tanabata is one of 2 new members of the Order. Not much is known about him other than the fact that he finds joy in killing and uses music as an outlet to express that. He's extremely sensitive about the way people interpret his music, and because of this, his weapon is in the form of an electric guitar, which he used to both temporarily stun Sakamoto and cause a manhole cover to explode out of the ground. Outside of that though, we know pretty much nothing about Tanabata. Torres is the second new member of the Order, and he's a gambling addict. In fact, the only reason Oki was able to force him to join was because of how much money he owed to the JAA, totaling around $400 million. Despite his bummy attitude and addiction to gambling, Torres is extremely strong. His main weapons are a pair of sandblasters, which he can use to completely tear through both people and objects. Sakamoto also notes that despite Torres' size, he can move extremely well. Torres has also shown extreme durability, very rarely taking damage even when being slammed into a car by skinny Sakamoto. In fact, we've only seen about 2 characters actually deal real damage to him. And for Sakamoto specifically, he's also beaten him around 6 times in a row, showing minimal damage each time. Lastly, Sakamoto is the only member of the Order known to have been able to retire and live a normal life for about 5 years. In his prime, Sakamoto was known as the greatest assassin of all time. His specialty is in using anything in the environment as a weapon, going from pens to pool floaties to force his enemies into submission. Personality-wise, when Sakamoto was in the Order, he was extremely relaxed and aloof, not really thinking about things too hard, but deep down, Sakamoto was and still is extremely compassionate, and his care for others fueled his strength, even in his past before he and his wife met.